Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Nolan here.
And this is episode 360.
Which is super exciting.
Stand up and do one.
And not only that, it's a Patreon poll.
You sound
Dustin.
like you're dying.
Are you
What's
sick
wrong
or-
with
Is he
that?
going to echo? Is Dan going to echo Patreon poll?
No, he'll save us. We're fine.
So, yeah, there's a few things here.
Yeah, there's one other giant, not only that some people already notice if they're watching this as a video.
It is our last episode of the year.
It is our last episode of the year.
/ first episode of the new year.
It's not our last episode of the year.
And also, juntos.
What does that mean?
It means together.
English only.
Yes, we are together. We are in the same room again, recording in Kenny's space, which is being taken over again. We don't have green screen, we don't have all those things, but we are coming together to record together. Over the holidays, I was in town, came to visit, so we thought, why not just record an episode together?
Yeah. No green screen this time. It's
No.
too much work.
No green screen. We're just hanging out. So some of the quality might be a little bit different than you're used to, but we're together, and so
That's what matters.
the quantity is better. And then also, you may have heard by my voice, I am not feeling the best, but it's not what you think it is. Kenny made sure that I tested before I came over here.
It's not the bubonic plague.
Well, I don't know. It might be that. I didn't test for that.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
Okay.
The plague.
It's just not the C
It's also not
word.
COVID.
Whoa! We don't say that.
Do we get demonetized?
Yeah.
if we say COVID?
All right.
Wait, maybe.
I just did a live stream. You know about it. Do you know about it?
I don't.
Wait, you really, really don't?
Maybe I do. Is this the one where you ranked?
There you go.
Yeah.
buddy.
That's the one.
See, I know.
There you go.
That's the
I
one.
ranked all 50 or so games that we played on the podcast this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it leads me to the question at the top of our final episode of 2022, first episode of 2023. It comes out on the 1st, so I think it's going to be first episode of
Okay,
2023.
cool.
What was your favorite game we played on the podcast this year? You might need to pull up Retro Master List
We don't have time.
or the availability to do that.
Yeah,
the
that's so
ability.
hard.
I'm just going to access
But
it.
think through. Like, I mean, if it was your favorite, you're going to remember it, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think I have one that just popped into my head.
Okay.
And I think my...
First of all,
What?
I do think that both of y'all should do a live stream within the next few days where you rank. It's very casual. It's someone from our community put it together where you can just place the games S tier, A tier, B,
Yeah.
C, D, and you just place them based on your recollection of your experience with the games.
And I will. And people listening to this on the 1st will have missed this because we might do one while you're in town for mine.
Sure, I mean,
Impromptu. So if you're in Discord, you'll see it.
But
yes,
from
I will.
recollection right now,
Okay.
what game was your favorite game that we played on the podcast this year?
Yakuza.
Oh, interesting answer.
Well, I love that era of PlayStation 2, and you do.
Oh, I do too, absolutely.
And like, I don't tap into it often, so getting to play the original one, I know the remake was, we said it a million times, is probably better, was great, and it was a good discovery, and it's one I've been meaning to check out, but never would on my own, right? So like,
Yeah, that's not one we would naturally gravitate towards,
Sure.
probably. So it's so cool that it came across. Kenny, you were able to pull up the Retro Master List. I
Yeah.
would assume you're
I
not
gave
just
you
texting
time.
over
No,
there.
I'm looking.
He's texting somebody.
I'm
It wasn't the year of best games ever.
While he's
No.
looking, I will tell you that. Honestly, this is no meme anymore. I think this last year was one of the worst,
Oh my gosh,
selection.
years
Of games. We had a lot of Patreon pools, and we had a lot of director episodes, and we had a lot of randomizations, and most of them weren't my favorite. There were, of course, handfuls. We played Resident Evil 4 this year.
Yeah, there's some big games in that
Yes,
list.
but
Knights of the Old Republic?
is that your favorite?
No, but I'm just like telling you we dropped some big names.
I guess.
I think, okay, so if I went with like actual favorite, even though this is sort of a cop-out answer because it's my genre, I love that we got to revisit Warcraft 2.
We did.
We did.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
This year was
I
long.
think it was in my C tier.
That was
Right.
fun for me, mostly for like nostalgia reasons. Like it's also fun on its own, but like it was mostly like a yes, this is the sweet spot for games I hadn't played. So like new to me games, I really enjoyed Professor Layton.
Oh,
A real
gosh.
different kind of game.
Yes.
But
Wait.
we had a good conversation about it. It was a lot of fun.
That's
it's
my answer.
Real unique.
Oh, you're changing.
I'm
That's a
changing it
good
to
one.
Leighton, actually.
So Leighton was one of the 4 games in my S tier
Okay.
at the end of my ranking.
So we're
Your
in agreement
list-
that it was
Yeah.
good for all of
you
us.
thought you just came in the live stream trolling me.
Yeah, but I thought that your list ended up being good. I couldn't disagree with a lot of it. It was pretty solid.
I asked on YouTube, our community, this past week, what was their favorite game that we played this year. We got answers like Survival Kids. Remember that?
Oh, that's
Game
a
Boy?
great
Was it Game
one.
Boy?
It was Game Boy Color.
Color.
Yeah.
And how it was like way ahead of its time.
What
But
it was, but
It
kind
was
of
a survivor game, but you could feel some of that.
you
know,
felt it. Yeah,
survival game.
yeah, it fell flat a little bit.
Crash Team Racing
Amazing.
was another answer of theirs.
Great.
I put that. I don't think that even made an A tier for me. I think
I
had it
know.
in B
That
tier.
was the one that I was like, why?
And other people would say
Yeah.
why, but that's in part because I'm not a huge kart racer. That's not my genre.
I'd also say good, not great, but not like a bad game at all.
And then another one that you probably don't immediately think of, but when I bring it back up, you'll be like, yes, Samurai Kid. It was that. It was just it was the game where you had the
Multiple
the 3 different
weapons.
weapons.
Dude, that game was
could solve
impeccable.
puzzles as you.
Wait
Yep.
a minute. That game's
Platform.
impeccable. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
so good.
Wow.
Yeah.
This year has been long. I some of these games feel ancient to me.
I'll tell you my top 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Third was Professor Layton, which
Oh,
is
we
kind of
agree.
right in
We
here,
all
right?
agree. It was so fun.
good.
My second, at the end of this thing, I didn't go in planning for it to be, but was Mega Man 5. My experience with Mega Man 5 was so good.
And I was very happy about that because of the whole Mega Man 3 thing. So that's really good news for me.
And then my number 1, a surprise to no one, was Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah. No one's shocked.
I'm surprised Yakuza didn't make your top 3, actually.
It didn't.
I would have thought that instead of Mega Man 5.
I'm trying to remember if Yakuza was even in my
It was
S
up there.
tier.
I don't know if it was in your S tier, but you had it up there pretty high.
S tier. Was like super elite for me, which
Yeah,
I would
I
assume
don't-
it'd be elite for you.
And you
like,
would
there'd
want
be
it to
one
be.
game there.
Right.
You would have one, yeah.
Yeah. I
Or
would-
0.
I'd be like, none of these games are good enough
All,
for me.
all the games for Kenny are average.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, there's some good and some bad. Let's put them all in C tier.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy was at the top of my list. It's no surprise. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. Guilty as charged. Like in our retro. Any objection? No.
Well,
Hold
it.
I do object. That was terrible.
Like our retro game of the week. Phoenix Wright. Ace Attorney.
Overview.
Ace Attorney released in the year 2001 for the Game Boy Advance.
Right. That's
Did you not know that?
No.
that's not what we played it on though.
No. Well, because it released exclusively in Japan on the GBA in 2001.
that feels right to me, but I didn't know GBA.
And then in 2005, so 4 years later, came out for the DS, which is what we're more familiar with. And
Same
we're-
game?
Worldwide. Same game with, I believe this is when they added a 5th case.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So extra
So-
content.
One more case that included some of the functionality that a DS provides that a Game Boy Advance
Right.
doesn't.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense hearing that now.
And all the work to do localization as well.
Yeah.
Which is a
Localization.
lot of
Which
work
is a lot.
A ton of work.
for
You're
this
just-
game.
Yeah, you're translating an entire novel is
Right.
what you're doing.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
And then it came out actually as a trilogy, an HD trilogy for the 3DS in 2014, and then for modern consoles in 2019. So you could actually this week have played any of the versions and gotten a very similar experience with one another.
Good, because I played the Steam trilogy.
Yeah, as did I.
Yeah, on my Steam Deck.
And the reason why I decided to go that route is because I was talking with those in our community, and they said basically you're getting the same thing across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason I picked it was because I wanted handheld. I have the Steam Deck now. I've said it every
Oh.
episode
Oh,
since.
and don't you as well, Kenny?
Yeah, I do.
And he's got one now too.
I don't.
Well, I wanted the handheld experience, and so I played it on Steam on the handheld mode.
That's nice. It is a visual novel adventure game, which I don't think that we've played this specific genre before.
I
Maybe
think
not.
we have, and you're gonna be like, "Whoa, it's point and click technically, but
said
I Have
Nancy
No
Drew.
Mouth and I Must
And I Must
Scream
Scream.
is very similar in it's a visual novel because that's based on a book. It's point and click, but there's some of that in here too.
Yeah, but that's more so with like the Scooby-Doo game and the other and the Nancy Drew game where it's
Yeah.
story based, but like you're pointing and clicking.
What was the
It
Galaxy
Far, far away?
Hitchhiker's Guide? That one's straight up visual.
No, that was full
No, there's
text.
no visual. That was all typing.
That was typing and
You
like on
just
a
have
white
a really
screen.
good imagination.
Was Mega Man 5 like?
No one's just naming games. I don't think we've played a game like this. At least not overtly like this. There's
Okay.
some similarities, but it is very unique.
One of the closer games that we played, so close that they did a crossover,
Yep.
was Professor
It
Layton.
is Layton, yeah.
Did you know that there's a crossover?
I did know there's a crossover.
You fail to see the comparison?
I see some similarities.
Shoot, I see
but
a
It's
they
not
feel,
identical.
They
It's-
feel pretty distinctly different still
So-
to me.
Basically, in this game, you are playing through various episodes like a TV series, and you have some choices to make, but really you are, you're an attorney, and you are either in the courtroom or you're out at the crime scene, finding what's gone on in a crime, and then
Which is what attorneys do.
right, and then defending your defendant in the court of law.
Well, it's a what is the like melodramatic TV shows? What are they called?
Soap opera.
It's a soap opera.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
An
Is he wrong?
Anime
Oh, it's an anime.
law.
It's an anime
soap
opera? No soap?
There's some.
There's
soap.
some soap.
Anime is already kind of soapy.
I didn't say, but it's super important to know that this game was developed and published by Capcom.
Yep.
So we're talking Mega Man, we're talking Street Fighter.
Yeah. And
And
they,
Others too.
they didn't do Layton. That was someone else
that was
completely.
someone else.
But that's a huge name to take on. And this was a brand new IP, yes? Like in Japan on the Game Boy, that
This
was a
is
brand
first.
new
Well,
first.
We'll get to it later when we talk about like the visuals and the sound of the game. But since we're talking about it being a Capcom title, let me tell you, the sound is what gave that away.
Why
for
are
me
you
more than
going
anything
there?
else. Just no,
That's
we're just
later.
talking about how
Yeah,
much it's a
that's
Capcom title, and it was really obvious to me. Not in anything else, but there's places that it just sounds like other games.
I could tell a Capcom fit and finish
Yeah.
through and through.
Yeah.
Yes. It has the sheen to
It's-
it.
yeah,
It's
it's
hard to describe. It's
100%.
just there.
Yep. They've got a vibe.
If I understand correctly, though, it was developed by a team of 7 over the course of
I believe
10
that.
months.
10
Sure,
months.
Yes. And as I already said, it came as a 4-episode game, and that are distinct from one another, but that are, I mean, you're defending different cases for 4 cases, but our version added a 5th.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
these cases where you're trying to solve different crimes, you're really trying to solve, not only defend but also solve the crime, like who did it.
Yes.
Yeah. The lawyer thing gets pretty stretched.
You're a lawyer detective is what you are, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and you also break a lot of real rules in a court. Like
Oh,
it
There's
bothered
there's
me
so
this week.
there's
I-
so many.
I had such a hard time.
Like I was like, you can't do that.
That's not how
Yeah,
the
you're
law
like, that's
works.
not how it works.
No, over and over
But
again.
it's
it bothered me.
self-aware. It's
It is.
self-aware.
It is.
Relatively.
The names, Kenny. It is.
Maybe too self-aware. It's like
The
these
judge up
characters-
there is obviously.
Oh, it's so big and
Yeah.
so over the top. Like we said, it was soapy, but and then we said it was anime. Both of those things tend to go to extremes, but it went really hard to those extremes.
Let me give the story, and then just so that everybody knows. And again, kind of repeating some of the same things. But Phoenix Wright is a rookie defense attorney, hoping to help solve cases and defend his clients in the court of law. So the first case that he's facing is defending his grade school friend Larry Butts.
But they don't call him that most of the time.
Harry,
Most of the time they call him Harry Butts.
So silly.
who
That's
is
the level of joke that you get.
he's
in most
being
of this game.
accused of killing his ex-girlfriend in cold blood. You believe that he didn't do it, so you have to find out who did and defend him in the process.
In many ways, this is the tutorial,
Case.
version of the game. It's
Yeah,
your
sure.
tutorial case.
I mean, it does. It but it does set into motion stuff that comes up in the
Oh,
other
absolutely,
cases. So it's
yeah.
like a still whole cohesive
It
like
kicks
story
things off,
game.
but it's a little bit shorter than the others. You sort of jump right into the action. You meet a couple of the characters, and you get a sense of what you're going to be doing in the entire game, which is a lot of pounding of the desk, a lot of objecting, a lot of
Tapping evidence.
tapping of evidence, yeah, and a lot of either like selecting something that you want to present as evidence, mostly to prove that somebody is perjuring themselves. That's kind of the main shtick here. Or hitting the just like do a lawyer thing button where you're, rebutting the things that they have to say.
Rebutsing.
Gameplay.
This is a very, very different kind of game. And I was thinking about this yesterday. You know how sometimes we've played stuff where we hesitate to even call it a game?
Yes.
Wait. Normally, that means that something was like done poorly. This one
Right.
feels like it's a game. It's a video game. Trust me. I'm not saying it's not. It is very different though than any other game that you want to call a video game to me.
It is.
Not because it's bad, but just because of the setup.
I mean, I'll go there if you're not going to say it. I almost think in some ways it's not.
It's a different
Okay,
kind of
yeah,
okay.
I almost
Then
think this is a storytelling experience that they just happen to use the medium of a handheld video game
But
console.
we call these games nowadays because there's walking sims that really all you do is walk through a story or an environment and
Yeah.
it gives you the story, but those are games.
Sure.
It is a game, but it is a very different kind of game. You're not jumping. You're not, you're not doing any of the things that you would do in most games.
Yeah.
But you are making some decisions. You are pointing and clicking as you would on some games.
You are.
A lot of your decision making though is pretty linear. Like there is some choice, but there's also a whole lot of illusion of choice.
Well,
There's
yeah.
a whole lot of make you feel like you're exploring a thing, but really you don't have any option other than to do these explorations. So it's, I don't know. I didn't feel a lot of my own agency playing through this game.
No, I agree. There's not a lot of agency, and I also agree that it's choose A, B, or C, and that's going to take you to A, kind of like scenarios.
Right. Sometimes overtly.
Yes.
But I still, although it takes away some of that agency, I still think it's a game. And I'm sure we could get into a very fun conversation about like what makes a game.
Oh, gosh.
I think we lose all three of our listeners, but so I don't think that's necessary. I think it is a game, but I think the point that we're making is that it's a very different kind of gaming experience that you're used to.
Yeah, it's very, you're in menus and you need to be prepared for that when playing this game. You're reading text and you're in a menu the whole time. There's no like outside of that. But and yes, the ABC will lead you to A kind of thing is in other games, and I hate it. Fallout 4 was one that I like was so frustrating because you would literally like swear in someone's face and still, they'd be happy and you get to the end of the mission. But they do it gracefully here, where they'll correct you a little bit to where you need to go, or like it will at least make sense that like you goofed.
And theoretically, you can get things wrong here.
Yeah.
But like, if you're at all paying attention and trying to go through the process of like successfully doing what you're trying to do in court, you're probably going to be successful. Enough so that I kind of wish that we had the like other alternatives of branching that you see. And I'm not saying like this game is not Fable or whatever, but I almost wish that like you'd gone through a court scenario and you sort of like did your best, and then like the jury went out and came back and you got a guilty or not guilty, and you maybe don't even know. Like that, I feel like there's ways that they could have done the same thing where you could have had more impact and it could have felt like you were actually making important or non-important decisions, and I miss that. It's not like earth-shatteringly bad, and partly they were going for like, I want a really simple game, you know, I want this sort of just story experience, and so like that's fine, but I missed it. I wanted there to be a little more meat.
Well, the cases do get increasingly harder, so I don't know how far you got into the game. I almost beat it. It's hard because
It's
I had
frustrating.
to leave. We had 2 weeks to play this game, but I only really had 1 week because I had left and just traveled for
Right.
holidays.
Okay, so
and
are you
came
at
to
the
y'all.
5th case?
I'm on the final day of the 5th case.
Okay, well, that's frustrating.
Yeah. I know,
Okay,
very frustrating.
So you've beat the original game, though.
Yeah, I beat the
first four
original
cases.
game.
Yeah.
and it's got an ending, so like
Cool.
it ends, and then
Oh, so Case 5 feels DLC, kind of.
it really does, because it's even like many months later.
That's cool. I like
And
that.
so and I think they probably had to add it. My assumption is that the second game had already released at the time,
Ooh.
and so they had to come up with something in between that wouldn't change anything drastic
That makes sense.
happened in
Just a
between.
side follow-up. Yeah, that's cool.
But this is the kind of game where they could do DLCs, like just a new
Easy.
case.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the
Drop a new
Leighton
chapter.
Leighton dropped the puzzles. Like, you could download
Oh yeah, they did
the
daily or
daily or
something.
monthly puzzles. They could have done cases every few months.
Let's rewind. Thank you, Kenny. Being in room really helps with like being able to
Yeah.
conduct.
Yeah.
And just give, for someone that hasn't played the game, I just want to break it down just a little bit further so you can kind of understand what's going on. We've already said in the overview, but this is part courtroom drama, part crime scene investigation. And those are two different things that are happening. And they happen in a case together, sometimes multiple times in a case together, but not at the exact same time. So when you're not in the courtroom, you're on the crime scene. You can go to a few different places. You can go to your office. You can go to where the crime happened, different locations around the crime scene, depending on which case you're investigating, to another firm's office at times, to the police headquarters at times. And at each of these locations, you're talking to witnesses or other individuals. You're examining pieces in the crime scene, and hopefully gathering evidence, not only physical evidence, but like verbal evidence, if that's a thing, from like the conversations that you're having with individuals.
Yeah.
And so like there's a cop that is reoccurring.
Dick Gumshoe?
Yeah.
You like that name, Kenny?
And he shows up regularly. All of these people are characters, by the way. And
Sure.
he helps you solve, like get information,
Yeah. Help.
gives you the coroner's report. What is that called? The
Autopsy
the
report.
autopsy report. So you can kind of use
Falsified.
that as evidence later.
Outdated.
And you're meeting the eyewitness. Who was this person? An
Oh,
eyewitness? Or are they
Who?
making it up?
April May?
Hey, don't
That's
give
such
away.
a dumb name.
And then when you're not at the crime scene, so after you've gotten what the game needs you to get, you then it forwards to the next day, and you're in the courtroom. And so you're at
And
your
it's game time.
you're at your booth.
dude.
The prosecutors at the other booth, who after case one for the most part is Edgeworth. Miles Edgeworth. He's the guy that you're kind of
Edgelord.
competing against, and you are Phoenix Wright, which I think your name
Dude.
is Nick.
Is
that your real
his,
name?
His real name's
Did
Nick
you
because
catch that?
Larry Butts keeps calling you Nick.
I think his name, I don't know. I think his name is
Phoenix?
Phoenix.
And
I
Nick
think
is a
Nick
nickname?
is just a nickname.
There's no
Or
way.
Phoenix.
Is Nick the
There-
nickiest nickname?
Nick is a really Nixie nickname for
Nixie.
Phoenix.
Let me cut y'all both off. I'm calling him Phoenix.
Well, yeah, we're gonna call him Phoenix.
There's other ways you can shorten Phoenix, but they're all bad.
But what you're basically doing is there is a witness that comes up, gives their testimony, and then you're grilling them on their testimony, trying to catch them in their lies, and provide. You know, we already laid this out, but then
Right.
you're trying to provide evidence to try to counter them and prove your defendant as not
guilty.
guilty. Thank you.
Right.
But the cool thing, and then I'll let you go, and then I'll let you.
All right,
is that
Kanye.
in the first two cases, you get a cutscene before where you clearly see who did the crime.
Yes.
So that it's cool, I think, because it's not. Then the game is not trying to figure out who done it.
Right.
It's trying to figure out how to prove that your person didn't do it.
And yes, in many ways, that second case is like tutorial part 2, and they do a really good
Yeah.
job of like kind of deep diving into more of that. But I'm with Kenny on the fact that you really don't have a ton of like varying outcomes. You're telling a story.
It's linear.
It's a yeah, that's fine. Linear's fine, but like it's a storytelling experience, and you're taking part in that and doing your part in that, but there's nothing to discover, or there's no like, I should have done that better. But the reason it's genius is because when you get to that court case, it is so epic, and it's game time, dude. And they make it feel so like intense,
like a battle.
and cinematic in a battle, dude, because it goes back and forth like Yu-Gi-Oh. It tricks you out of the like, we're just telling the story that's going to be told regardless, and makes you feel like you do have agency, even though you kind of don't.
You think that's a joke. He literally means this exactly like Yu-Gi-Oh. I think the enemy, I literally think of the other.
Yeah. You've got a health bar. He called it a health bar.
The enemy lawyer, I literally am calling him an enemy, at one point goes, "You fell for my trap." He literally just doesn't say card.
Yeah.
But it's exactly
No,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
listen, when you provide evidence, there's a sword slash sound. When you and then they'll be like, they were hit, there's like a slap, and he'll like recoil.
It's a battle. It's a battle, and it feels great. Like, it feels great getting like the right choice.
Kenny, what?
It feels great, but it's also
kill you.
really heavy-handed.
I'm gonna kill you. What do you mean?
Not like in a bad way. Again, they're telling a story,
Well, yes,
but it's
very
just,
stylized.
Yeah, this is so over the top, and it's fun because it does bring a little bit of just sort of drama. Like, some of the stuff they're revealing, like, isn't that exciting, but in the moment, the screen's shaking and everyone's reacting, and there's music building, and so like, regardless, you're gonna get kind of pulled into the story whether you want to or not.
Well, you have to remember, it is anime. I mean, at least in presentation.
Let's have that conversation.
Sure.
Yes.
Because it's not just anime, it's uWu.
Well, that one girl's uWu.
Yes.
April May is uWu.
Listen, quit saying April May.
She's like this.
Okay.
No, it's bad. You get jiggly bits.
Ample bouncing bosoms.
Wait,
Yes.
hold on. In a still like stop motion-y kind of game, they added jiggle physics.
Yeah, it's so much.
They went
so
the
over
extra
the top.
step.
Oh,
dude.
and the way she talks, like,
I believe she
everything.
roars at you once.
She roars.
She does.
She has her hands up here like this.
Rawr, yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's really bad.
So a lot of you listening go, I would love that game.
Right.
Like, that's an audience.
But some of you wouldn't so much.
But
Well-
I don't. Well, I guess I was gonna say I don't think it. Like, it's not at the forefront. Super is at the forefront, I think, actually. Like, I mean, it is. For me, though, while I didn't grow up watching anime, and I know that's not all anime, but it's a
Sure.
subset of anime. I didn't grow up watching anime, so it's not something that I'm specifically drawn to. But I love story,
Yeah.
and I love like developing narratives, and I love mysteries, like crime kind of. So, the anime nature of it, yes, caused me to roll my eyes at times. Especially April May's the biggest offender here.
April May's the biggest.
No one's
offender.
as bad as her throughout
She
the rest
is,
of the
but
game.
they're all pretty like
Over the top,
extreme in their
extreme.
characters. Yeah,
But that
and
made it enjoyable.
The fun and in fun ways. And all of the defendants, when they get to a point where
Yes.
they're like breaking
Yes.
down, there's this big moment where they just lose
eye twitch.
it.
Kenny,
And
it's their evolution. If we're
Absolutely.
talking about other video games, their second phase of the boss battle.
Yeah, for sure.
They change. April May, who's this sweet Rory girl, like her
Eye twitch.
It's so
She
angry.
twitches at first, but then she
Oh,
turns
yeah.
into this demon kind
She
of
does
thing.
the Goku like.
She does, dude. And like evolves and goes to this next level.
See, and I'm not you. It was distracting for me.
Okay.
But there was still good story happening under it anyways. Like, you say you only rolled your eyes and were fine with it. I like really rolled my eyes, but it
I
didn't
didn't.
stop me from still enjoying the overarching story that was being presented, at least.
I didn't roll my eyes too hard because you do have other characters that aren't that. Edgeworth. So that's his name, right?
Yeah, Miles.
Yeah.
Edgeworth.
In the
prosecutor.
in the first case, the prosecutor was this like buffoon, like just not that great. Like, you're clearly gonna dunk on him, right? Edgeworth is like a real character. He's like got good artwork. Like, his character model's cool, and he's clearly gonna be a mainstay. And he's like in it, like, and he is more serious and a little more grounded than April May or someone like that. And so the balance of characters helped me be in it more and not be so removed because of the uwu stuff.
I get the distraction, but I would rather the characters have too much characterization and personality than not enough.
Right, because it's a court case.
It's a court case,
like that can
which
be
is
so
boring
bland.
for most people.
Like the only other piece of media that's done it is Better Call Saul, and that they made being a lawyer sick. But you're not in the court the whole time in that show.
At all.
You're in the court a lot. And it could be bad, Ken. It could be like so.
You might like that. You're boring.
Nolan over here thinking no TV show has ever happened in a courtroom.
No,
no interesting shows.
It's like the biggest genre of all time.
No, the real courtroom. Johnny Depp's trial was more entertaining than a lot of those courtroom shows.
I mean,
wow.
Poop in the bed.
I have watched a lot of courtroom things lately, from the one you just mentioned to other stuff. And the amount of discrepancies with how they handled the courtroom here
they took every liberty they could.
Bothered me at the beginning, but then I was like, I'm in for the ride. I imagine the whole week that Kenny was probably so angry the whole time of like, you can't do this.
I was
the ride.
so angry.
They were objecting when you're not allowed to.
No,
They would present evidence that they haven't brought. You have to have that passed, and everybody has to agree on it.
They'd be like,
Right.
hold on.
But they're like,
get
surprise!
Get something out of their back pocket, and they're like, what about
Right.
this?
And then I'm like, they would bring up like some of the cases. You're solving other cases from 20 years past, and it's like, no, you have to deal with the case right now.
You're bringing up other cases to use as an example, and that you can't do that.
like, there's so many things.
There's so many things.
Like when someone perjures themselves, like, don't they have to stop at that point?
Right,
And
no.
you catch someone in a lie so many times.
So many times. At one point, like, the judge is kind of corrupt and like literally
Yeah.
working for the other team, but you got to just deal with it. Like, there's a lot of things that are not realistic. But that's not what this game's going for.
This game is not about
You have to suspend so much disbelief.
Yeah.
But if you're okay
But
with
isn't
getting,
that okay? That's
yeah,
so good.
if you're okay with just getting like silly like story drama that just happens to be set in a courtroom in this style of storytelling, it's not gonna be the worst thing. I'm sure bugged some of us more than others.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's so I was even fine suspending disbelief and just being like, this is cheesy and that's what it's gonna be, but whatever.
Okay, one piece that I really enjoy that I think, again, helps the immersion, even though you'll probably get to the right answer eventually, is when you are presenting the evidence. And like, you were watching me play it earlier, and I was like reading through the different like voice lines and then looking at what I had in my evidence to present, and it felt so good to get it right, like to choose the correct thing. It's like, again, it's gonna tell the same story, but you just feel like a boss when he points, and it's like just correct.
And if you don't pick the right evidence, that's when you're penalized. You called it an
The
HP
bar,
but like it's blue and it gets knocked off, and if it gets knocked off enough times, you have to restart the case, right?
Right, yeah, they get declared guilty, and
right then and there, which is also
it's
not
just over, which is ridiculous. Yeah.
So it is fun because there are, for the most part, and it's the first game they did. I think they probably get better with this. For the most part, logic wins, and if you're paying attention, and if you are looking at the evidence you have, and if you're listening to or reading the what the witness is saying, you're going to be able to pull out inconsistencies with their story most of the time.
And here's the tip for those of you that are starting to play the game: when it asks you, should I give up? Don't do that.
Just
don't
ever give up.
Say no, keep fighting.
Well, yeah,
It's like,
I thought you were gonna say, I think you should not rebuttal, but you should call out their statement question their statement every time, because that will always get them to like give a little bit more information where you can try to trip them up.
Yes.
But I love how many times like it's presented as you're losing and the screen fades out or whatever, and then someone objects and it comes back, dun, 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 and it's like the music
so
again.
Much.
Okay, so case 4, one of the things that some people in our community did this week is that it actually takes place, the murder takes place like on the hour between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and so it's a Christmas game.
Okay.
And
that's so fun.
That's when we played it.
This is a Christmas
So
game.
on Christmas Eve, multiple people from their Nintendo DS or from wherever they were playing.
That?
multiple people took a screenshot and posted it this week.
Why didn't y'all tell me?
Christmas Eve.
That's so good.
Why didn't y'all tell me?
Isn't that cool?
You were off doing Christmas.
You were doing Christmas.
I would have stopped and advanced 3 cases to post that.
I will say this will be fun to tease you a little bit. I would imagine you might know from reading or whatever, or maybe you got there, but the person that you were defending in that case is Miles Edgeworth.
That is a spoiler, but a good
Spoiler
one.
alert.
That is dope, dude.
Isn't that crazy?
Whoa, because I love Miles. I liked him when they introduced him in
Yeah.
Case 2. I like him a lot.
They don't mind throwing everybody into every role, though.
Oh,
In like
yeah.
the first 42 seconds of the game, you're a lawyer, you're a detective, you're accused of a crime, you've accused 3 other people of murder, and we're right about one of them. Like, they go big.
I bet. Yeah, go ahead.
No, we've spent a lot of time in the courtroom talking about the antics and the pounding of the table and the presenting of evidence, and a lot of the game does happen there. But we talked about how you also have this sort of storytelling element everywhere else where you're gathering information. One of the things I didn't love that they did was spend a lot of time during those narrative elements telling you what your character is thinking. There's literally actual text
the
where
parentheses
people talk.
stuff.
Yes. And there's and I get it because they're going for this sort of detective noir vibe, almost like you would in that genre where there's like a voiceover, like of what the detective is thinking, and it feels like that. But it also felt very just sort of like, hand me the story. I wish they had tried harder to just like show those things or let me make my own assumptions about who these people were. But there was a ton of just like you playing as Phoenix, like, here's text as to how you're feeling at the moment, and that felt a little cheesy.
What's the target audience? I mean, is it for younger people?
Kenny's one of those gamers that just wants every game to be Skyrim.
I
He wants
don't.
unlimited choices. He
Open
wants
world
to
Ace
do his
Attorney,
own
Kenny?
thing.
No,
He wants to.
I want to feel like
Not every game is about putting all of the power in your hands. It's
I
about
know.
letting you experience what they created for you to experience.
Well, no,
And
seriously though, it's not a kids game.
I
It's
don't-
not a kids
it's
game.
not a
But
kid's
even
game.
as even as just a linear story game, I don't want you to tell me what I'm feeling. I want you to make me feel it. It's this show don't tell thing that's like a staple of good storytelling.
But Kenny,
in any number of ways, and I just felt like that was a kind of cheap way of sort of inserting yourself into the character without like earning it.
this is in the cozy gaming category. Like this is like handheld cozy gaming. It's not anything more, I don't think. It's a great handheld game because of the session nature of it. You can save and quit at any point in the like story. Like there's text on the screen, you can save and exit your game, and come back to it, and it'll pick up. And so the on the go nature to me, like talking in your head didn't bother me as much because I just honestly I was already thinking it half the time.
We say it's a visual novel. I just kind of wish we'd gotten like something as a visual novel that was probably a little bit more literary, but this is just me and my preferences, and I'm a little bougie and think too highly of myself. Like
That's true.
It's as it, you know, if we're gonna make this idea of this is a visual novelization, it's real pulpy, like it's informal.
Yeah,
it's
very.
just, but
purpose.
that's what the game is.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think people need to know what they're getting into if they're deciding to play this game, because it's a lot of nonsense, but the fun kind of nonsense. And if you're okay with that, then more power to you.
Fun sense.
Aged.
I just found out when you told us an overview that it was how many people that developed on it?
I think
Like
the
a
team was
small
7. Yeah,
Okay.
a team of 7.
team of 7. That's clearly very small for a game, any game, but a Capcom release is crazy. But I believe that because of a couple things. Let's start with how it looks. It's not fully animated. It's not. I mean, it's not like an anime, like
Right.
a TV show.
Right.
And
It
I
is-
think that's part of the reason, I don't want to jump
Sure.
back too far, where they needed to tell you some other things, because it's not fluid animation where you're watching a movie. It's a few...
it's images.
It's a
It's
few
almost
images.
yeah, it's almost still images.
It's-
They animate
it
a
is.
little,
Well,
but it's more
but they're-
comic book slices.
Yes.
But even then, of the same still images of people, and to some degree, almost ridiculously so. You can tell they're reusing assets, and they almost make humor out of it. But like, you get the bellboy, and he comes in and he's
Yeah.
still
Has
Kyle,
his
and it's
tray.
literally him standing there with his
Love
tray
it,
full
though.
of food, because that's how he showed up in the hotel,
But
and
love
that's his
that.
character,
Right.
and they just left it there. Again, it was self-aware,
Sure.
but they gave each character a handful or more, because
Of
you get a lot
frames,
of different
right?
reactions. But yeah, and so
So-
you're gonna get a lot of repeat visuals over and over and over again.
Well, and that cuts down development time, or at least for the artist, which is massively. And it's very simple looking. I'm not saying that as an insult, though. It is. I don't even know the art style to compare it to, really. I don't have an example. It's just super simple and effective, though. I love the way the characters look. I love the way the environment looks. It's got its own art style. That's why I can't really compare it to, because, like, you know how Layton looks.
It's got its own art style too. They're different art styles from one another.
Yes, but they had their own signature look, and this one does too. It's just kind of simple, and I really enjoy the way it looks, and I love the, like, still images, but, like, you know, their face gets kind of squished at moments. I love that. It really helps me, like, get immersed.
You've got completely static backgrounds, and so, like, they're showing you what they want you to see. You don't have camera control at any time.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Even when you're not in the courtroom, like, you've got static backgrounds, and then you've got these different frames of these images of slightly animated characters. So I think it's super important that sprite work is done well, and I think it's done especially well. So much so that when they did blow it up, and for modern releases, that it looks so good.
It looks crisp, dude. On my TV, we had it on my TV, and it looked awesome. Like
it looks so good.
Yeah.
One of the things that did bother me, I'd love to know y'all's opinion this
Of
week. I already know a
course.
little bit of Nolan's,
of course.
but I know some people in the community that felt that it bothered them too, is that, and maybe it's different when it was on a really small screen, they had a shake, the screen shakes,
Yep.
and the screen flashes on purposeful moments. So they put those on, when you've got an idea.
Aha
or when
moments.
You're getting, you're attacking someone. But when that screen is blown up a little bit more, the shake bothered me a little at first, but the flash, I scoured the interwebs to try to figure out a way to turn that off. And you can't.
There's got to be a hack on
It's
a
not
ROM
an option. You
or
cannot turn it
something.
off. It's in the game.
Right.
And it was giving me epilepsy.
I mean, it wasn't.
It gave
But
me
if
epilepsy.
If you, like, literally, if you had epilepsy, this would be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yes.
You would need to avoid it. For real. And that can be a problem. I'm with you. Like, modern games, we try and account for some of those things, but it's just not very, like,
But it bothers me.
user friendly on that front. I tend to even, like, turn off haptics on stuff, and, like, I just want things to be, like, simple and understandable.
Two-dimensional.
So yeah, and so, like, there were times it felt like so many things in this game, and I've said it before, heavy-handed use of that. But it also does bring energy to that moment and make you know something's going, and kind of, like, connect you with the, like, oh, this is real. And if you have one animation, which is, like, shake the screen, then you can do that to a bunch of things
It's
and
easy.
add energy to these still
Yeah,
images
I
without
get it.
actually animating them. So again, it was shortcuts, but they made the most of the assets they did have and the time they had to work with, and so it's understandable. It looks good regardless of some of those things.
I hate it. And I don't know if this was in the original. I'm sure it is. You can turn off the
Screen shake.
shake, but yeah, Dustin, the
Can't turn off the
flash.
flash.
I mean, I never really got used to it, and it's not like I can't play the game because of it, but I don't like it at all, and I wish it wasn't in the game. Like, if that was their way of animating the still images,
Right.
and if that's what you're gonna do, okay. But hopefully in later releases, it was less severe, and you could turn it off if you wanted to.
I will say, the more I played this week, the less that it bothered me and the less that I knew
got
about
used to it.
You get used to everything.
So-
yeah,
Humans adapt really well.
right.
But
Dude, it's dumb.
But the more that I think about it, I bet it's not as distracting on a smaller screen.
yeah.
I would
It's different
imagine.
playing on a DS.
Well, also
to
the
playing
DS
on a-
screens were not the screens we have now. Like, they were not,
Right.
LCD, whatever, OLED type of
Right.
screens. They were very old. So you're probably right. But Yeah, whatever.
Music, you kind of referenced it a little bit earlier. It felt really Capcom.
Very Capcom. Literally, I think there were a couple riffs that they might have just pulled it out of. I don't even know.
Mega Man or Street Fighter.
Yeah,
I kept hearing
Ninja
those
Turtles or something. I don't know what. I don't know if that's even Capcom.
I don't think
but
so.
it had those vibes where I was just like,
Konami.
they've had. It doesn't matter. They've had like.
It does.
No, what I'm saying is just like this could have fit in another game. Like I was surprised by that because the genre was so unique. But they were just like, nah, it's a video game. It's over the top. We've got big over the top music. Plop it in there. They're also not afraid to go cheesy on the music for moments that are sappy. Like again, everything in this game they did big and they did to the extreme, and that includes the music. And not in bad ways. The music was excellent. Honestly, it's one of the things that I think was the best done. I mean, because the animations were a little weak. The visuals were fine, but it's got this whole static thing, and we talked about that some. But the music was really good, I thought. Cheesy, but good.
The music is one of my favorite things too. Like when you are in the courtroom and it's quiet, everyone's just kind of talking, and then it's time for a witness testimony. And that theme starts playing, the bum 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 bum. Dude, I loved it every single time. But then you pointed
that's
that
my
out.
favorite.
You pointed this out, and this is the Street Fighter kind of feel. It when you get to the turning point, when you present something dope, dude. It's like Guile's theme. It is so good, and again, helps with immersion, helps with pacing. It's not just one piece. It's all of these things that we've said are sometimes rudimentary, sometimes distracting, but together, man, the music really drew me in and kept me there. I love it.
There's not a ton of different pieces.
No.
Like, I haven't looked, but I would imagine there's probably 10 or less tracks in this game, but they use them well.
Sparingly.
Yeah,
There's a lot
do.
of silence in the game.
There
And so
is
when it comes
silence
when it comes back around, you're like, "Oh yeah." Like so they don't it's not repetitive.
Right.
It's just unless you sit on a screen for a long time.
Right, and right, it could be, but I think they designed the music well enough that like when you are in this mode of the courtroom or when you are at the crime scene doing this, that hearing that music play over and over doesn't feel repetitive and doesn't feel old because it's good.
It's just it's that Capcom just perfection.
And it's not only that, it's the sound effects too. I referenced it earlier,
Slamming
but I
the desk.
think they were trying to make a courtroom game for gamers. You asked who the audience is. I think the audience is gamers. I think I mentioned it, but like when you have a good argument, there's like a sound effect of a sword slash, and Edgeworth or your opponent will like recoil, and
A sword slash is familiar to gamers.
Yeah,
like,
or
you're
like
doing damage.
it really is that. Or there's like punch sounds or victory fanfares when you do something right. There's confetti that falls down at the end of a court case when you
dude, I
defend
forgot
someone.
about that. That was dope.
And so like I just love those kind of like additions to it. Like it made it feel very video game friendly.
There's one piece that we talk about and aged a lot for this platform, the DS, and the touch screen in this game. Where is it?
Okay.
I almost missed it because they just simply didn't utilize it in the way that you would expect a DS game to use it. And Layton was like so DS. Like when I think of DS titles, I think of Layton because I saw it on the shelf. I think of Ace Attorney because they made a lot of them, and it was kind of not the face of the console, but in some ways like it came out of the DS, which was a unique system, and there's like barely any touch.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's the case, and mostly
The case
that's
closed?
Which
because case closed. No, mostly it's because it came out on those first four
Recall,
on
it came out on the
GBA
Game
first.
Boy Advance.
Now, so what that means is that in that fifth case, they really lean into it, and I almost think they lean into it too hard, especially when we talk aging. Especially when we talk aging, because there's things that like if you're trying to play this game today and you're not playing it literally on a DS, there's moments that it wants you to like breathe into the microphone or like tap a thing and rotate it, or like stuff that's very interactive in terms of your types of engagement that you can do when you're playing it on original hardware. And I love that they leaned in, and I love that you're doing that stuff, touching and moving and interacting with evidence and all of that. That's great. but it does make it a little bit harder to get that true experience. Now, on like a re-release on like Steam, I'm sure they changed a couple of those
They
things.
remedy it
And
somehow.
you're clicking or you're using a mouse. And so most of the ways you're going to get this game, it's fine and not a problem.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting when we talk about a piece of hardware that's that specific about what that means for, playing it on that hardware in the future.
The blowing on the DS was always sexual to me. That's weird.
Okay, well, that's a whole nother podcast.
No, how do you like blowing into the mic is always stupid.
Hey, Nolan.
That part ages bad.
I didn't have to do that this week,
Okay,
so
good.
maybe it was just the update. But I did in Case 5, get to Case 5, and like Kenny's saying, they did try to implement touchscreen functionality by allowing you or requiring you to manipulate certain pieces of evidence. Like there would be something on the back side of the thing.
So Resident Evil style, where
So
you
you've
can
got a
rotate.
3D
Right.
environment that
You
you
gotta
can
look
move
all
it
the way
around.
around.
That's what I want the whole game. That
Well,
sounds sick.
And they're going to do that later in the series when it comes out on DS, but it didn't
Right.
originally, and so they couldn't
I
really
got
do
it.
that in the
I
first
forgive them, and even give them props for going the extra mile
And
on Case
adding.
5 and adding.
Right?
That's
They didn't
sick.
have to do that.
That's sick. Thank you, Capcom.
On
Okay,
top of that,
okay.
one of the key things that I did in Case 5 was you get luminol spray, which helps reveal where blood traces used to be. And so you're spraying it on the courtroom or spraying it on not the
Like
courtroom.
with
In
the
the
stylus,
courtroom.
not in the courtroom.
graffiti on the judges
You're
thing.
spraying it on a locker at the crime scene or
With the
something
stylus,
Like that.
like-
with the stylus, yes.
I like it.
And
I like
so
it. No blowing though.
yeah, I didn't have to. I think Kenny is just blowing into his game this week.
I was just
It
doing
did
it.
not require him to
I
do
was just
so.
doing it for Nolan.
He was blowing on April May's screen.
Okay, come on. So we have mentioned a few things. We've mentioned that the series continues.
Yes.
So there are many other games in the series. There are many spin-offs, compilations, remasters as well. 6 main games in the series, I believe.
Okay, so we have the trilogy on Steam. There was a second trilogy, or like
I guess so, yeah, something like that. So
Okay.
there was an HD version of the first 3 games released for modern consoles in 2019.
that's what I played.
This is one of those that it was a popular game. It came out, people liked it, and so they've put it on a bunch of stuff, re-released it, added more games. It's one of those legacy kinds of games where the first one worked well, and so they just kept on going, and not in a bad way.
We mentioned kept going not in a bad way. If you keep going, it's probably a good way, right? People are playing your game.
Not always.
Should be.
There are some dead horses out there.
We mentioned, but it's
There are.
super cool that now 2 games that we played have a crossover game. And there is a Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright crossover game that came out in 2012 for the 3D.
It's
Do
a-
you understand that? It's the way I want to play that more than any other game in the world.
It's,
Now,
it's versus. It literally like
It's
pits
versus.
them
I
against
think
each
they're
other.
against each other.
Okay, which camp
Okay.
are y'all in?
ooh, who do you got?
Oh, don't
who you
do that
got?
to
Yeah.
me.
Who you got?
Who you gonna ship?
Oh my god. Oh
What
no.
if you have to pick one side?
If you have to
I
pick,
I pick
It's so
Miles
easy for me.
Edgeworth.
Well,
No.
that's not.
that's because you are.
Okay,
Ew.
well,
Wait.
I wanted to bring this up. I guess this is a good time because you just made that remark. I think it is very clear who the 3 of us are in this game.
It's the clearest it's ever been.
Well, tell me.
Well, you
What-
said he's Edgeworth, and I agree.
I gotta answer the earlier question
Okay.
though, Professor Layton.
Professor Lane?
For
I,
sure.
I, I, put, I put Leighton.
We're all Leighton boys.
Okay.
I love
All right.
him so much.
He is Edgeworth
Yes.
in presentation and
I'll take that.
in the way that he, is loyal to the law. No
and I
matter
get pissed
what.
off if I'm
Even
like
though you might
exposed.
cut corners or
Yeah.
make up evidence from time to time.
I do that. I do that.
Who am I?
You're Phoenix Wright. for
I think
sure.
I'm Phoenix Wright.
Yeah.
It kind of clean cut, whatever, just normal, a little bit boring.
You
Who-
can spike your hair, but yeah.
Who's Kenny?
Kenny, come on, dude.
Take your hat
you
off.
Look
Are
like
you
him.
gonna,
You
are you gonna
act
tell
like
me
him.
I'm the judge?
You're
Kenny,
the judge.
you're 100,000% the judge.
I was worried you were gonna tell me I was Grossberg.
No,
Oh,
no,
no,
no.
You're
Okay.
Judge a
Okay.
billion
You have the
trillion
dead look in
percent.
your eyes every once in a while. You've got the perfect beard that looks like him.
You often are middle of the road. He'll be like, that's a good point, defense. What do you have to say, prosecution? That's a good point, prosecution. What do you have?
You're like, okay, then you're guilty.
Dude.
And someone will say, but he's not. And you're like, all right, he's not.
Kenny, you agree with this, right? You know this.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue much.
Like, it's the hardest similarity outside of Miles and
I will
Phoenix.
accept your
Hey,
argument.
the judge is sick. I
you.
like the judge.
All right. If you want a copy for your 3DS, no,
Oh,
$20 used,
beautiful.
Yeah.
$51 new.
What? That's fine.
What? That's money.
Well,
Okay.
or for like for not much. We got it on sale. You can get the trilogy on Steam.
You don't want to know how much the crossover game is. They have it at our local store. I saw it.
Ooh, with a
Loose
physical
case,
copy?
not in the box. It's like $300. It's ridiculous.
That hurts.
Why is it that
Ouch.
much? I think they overprice it.
Because they know you want it.
Somebody tell me if that's overpriced or not, because that's a joke.
This version of the game, however, is much cheaper, and there are many different
Yes.
ways to play it. You can very easily play this game today.
Steam Winter Sale going on right now is cheap. I think. I guess
The trilogy is probably less than
Ish.
$10.
Yes.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. I don't know where this guy's gonna land, so let's let him go second.
You don't know where I'm gonna land.
I'm going to go first so that
Okay.
I can give my voice a rest.
Okay.
I do think that this is a very stylized game, not only artistically, but in the way that the game is played. I think there will be some people that hard bounce off of it because it's not the same kind of gaming experience that most gamers are going into games looking for. In fact, I think that you can get a button fatigue from all the dialogue, just going dialogue. But I like novels, and I like bold characterizations, and I like courtroom dramas, and I like mysteries. And then this entire package was great for me. I even did get fatigue at times. It's a long game. It's like 16 hours.
That's a lot for this
very long
kind
game.
of game.
Yes.
That's a lot.
But I've read books longer, and this is just another book. I put it on my Goodreads for this year. I loved the experience with it. I can't believe that I didn't get to finish it in time for our recording.
Last
but I'm
day
going
of
to.
last case is
I'm
hard.
going to, and I can't wait to go back to Nolan's house to watch him do some more cases tonight. I definitely give this my vote for New Game Plus status. I think it is such a fascinating game, and I bet it just gets better.
I know that's the first game out of.
That's
yeah.
the first game.
I am excited for to see where they go with some of the sequels, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
That crossover game's got to be stupid.
Tell us, Kenny. What did you think about Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to love about this game. There's a reason everyone thinks it. I'm fine with how popular the game is.
He's not right.
You talked about people
I
that
think he is.
it didn't super set with, and I think I was in that camp. Again, moments that I enjoyed. I'm fine with sort of the we're just going to change the genre and it's going to be just a storytelling experience. That's cool. But it was just too much for me. And so many, the characters are so much and the screen shake is so much and the freedom to just make up how laws work and change that even inconsistently throughout the game to just they do whatever they want.
Pause. Is he going
Hold it.
to... Hold on. Oh, that's good. Dang it. Is he going to finish this thought and that is where he lands? Or is he going to pull a Kenny and say, but... What do you think?
I think he's gonna pull a.
I think he's going to pull a Kenny.
I think he's gonna pull a Harry Butts.
He's gonna pull an objection.
No Larry Butts.
All right, let's see. Go back.
No Larry Butts
On
here.
pause.
There are a lot of really good things about this game, but it didn't set well with me because it's too much. And so I'm fine that most people will probably be kind of intrigued. Maybe they should check it out. I can't get myself to give it New Game Plus though. I know that's controversial. I get why it's good, but I don't know that it is. I mean, you even said, Dustin, that you don't think it's everybody's cup of tea. And I'm everyone, and you said that I'm a judge, and so I'm gonna just judge this game. It was kind of a nothing burger.
Oh my! Stop it talking.
It has lots of flavor. There's cheese. There's condiments, but the meat isn't there. The choices aren't super
I'll
meaningful.
show you meat.
You do stuff, and so yeah, it's entertaining, but it's not my game. So let's say no New Game Plus. I know how this is going to turn out though, and I'm okay with the ultimate answer. So
Get a life.
Y'all don't know me.
Burger?
Quit acting like you know me.
Out of all the games we played, this is a nothing burger.
That is actually a really offensive term to use for a game.
No, it just is? Because it lacks. Yeah, it's the agency that I'm missing.
Quit saying agency.
Nolan, it's your turn.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Defend this game.
Hold it. It's one of the more unique games we've played. It's one of the more unique games I can even name. Up there with Layton, and it makes a lot of sense that they did a crossover because those two games just tap into a genre, not even a genre, just a part of gaming that I haven't experienced before, at least not in this style. And if like a courtroom game, how do you make that interesting and good? They did, and it was a small team. There's so much to love about it. Like everything we've talked about, I just love it more, and I can't wait to go and play finish the case that we're on at my place. So yeah, it gets a lot of meat, a lot of cheese, a lot on this burger. I don't know the secret sauce too. You're crazy. Like that is a big L for Kenny, but New Game Plus from Nolan.
I could see Kenny landing on that it's not for him, but it's still one that you should go experience because of how unique and
so
innovative
unique.
it is. But he didn't do that.
I could have. I just wanted to be.
You wanted to be the DA.
I wanted to be the DA.
Devil's
and I
advocate.
Wanted to be a BA.
District attorney.
Oh! Everybody's mind is getting blown. No, it's just I wanted to advocate for the people out there who, despite its popularity, realize it's not for them and let them know they're not alone. It's a noteworthy game that I'm glad we're talking about.
You're Satan's advocate.
Well, you have advocated and you have advocated hard. Alas, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney is
not guilty.
New Game Plus certified. What did you think? We had many people that voted on our YouTube poll. 53% said yes, it's worth playing.
That's high.
9% said no.
Yeah, and I've got their back.
And then 39% have not played it.
53 to 9 is a big gap.
It is.
Wait, how many haven't played it?
And an understandable one.
39% have not played it. That's a
that
large
is surprising
audience because although I hadn't played it before in here, I thought this was a big. I mean, it's
a
Capcom.
huge DS title. Like I said, I haven't played it but knew about it. So maybe that's the case. Maybe a lot of people knew of it and just never picked it up because it was a courtroom game.
It's such a different thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a big title. It's very unique, and it's also handheld. There's some people that just don't do
ever
handheld. Really get visibility
That's
in
true.
handheld no matter what.
That's true.
Because either like you got it or you don't.
Yeah.
You're very smart on some things.
I am,
but not this game.
But what did you think? We had many people write in our community. This week won't be able to include all of your thoughts, but I have some of them here. Starpoint said, "What a game to be able to play for 2 weeks." By the way, this is a great idea. Me reading these because I've got such a strong voice.
Do you want me to read them?
No. Ace Attorney is a game that changed my perception as to what a game and a game's story can be. I had previously never played a visual novel, so I really had no idea what to expect with this game, but I was hooked from the tutorial case, and it just gets better from there. The fourth case in particular is one of my favorites in the entire series. The game has phenomenal writing that only gets better as you go, incredible characters that are developed extremely well, and one of the greatest OSTs I think I've ever heard in a video game. There is so much more I can talk about with this game, but I'll leave it at this. Ace Attorney is an absolute must-play, genuinely more than any game I've ever played. I strongly recommend picking up the trilogy on Steam, and great Ace Attorney after that. Absolutely NGP from me.
I really do think that's a good value. 3 games on the Steam release for $10. It's super cheap. Yeah.
I since you asked, my favorite case is actually this 5th case.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm liking that one so much.
Then that's good. That makes me so excited then for 2 and 3 because then they just continued it. Did 2 come out on the GBA first or did
the second Phoenix Wright?
Yes.
I don't recall.
I want the first game that they made for the DS. That's the one I'm excited to play.
They made a TV show out of this, right?
Oh yeah, an anime.
Do we know if it is if it retells the same story or is it completely different?
It's the first game. It's the cases. It's the first 4 cases of the game, I believe.
Let's
go.
Let's go.
Just watch the anime then.
No, That's where you're going with it?
You're not making choices.
Shut up! Don't
anyways.
listen to
No,
me. Don't listen. Don't listen. No.
Next person.
But I do think it's probably a good anime.
Next person.
Which you may not ever hear me say that.
Jay
Ever.
said, I finished this game 3 times on the year it came out. From its art style to the writing and the soundtrack is, in my opinion, one of the best visual novels one can play, even if you're not a fan of the genre. Filled to the brim with unforgettable and quirky characters, the game gives one crazy courtroom drama to another, up until its climax in the 4th. The gameplay might be repetitive, but it is always very rewarding when you find out the answers on your own, as you get rewarded by the adversary's over-the-top reaction from a now cornered witness. Thankfully, the games later added some variety by adding some extra gimmicks to reveal the truth. NGP for me.
It is in the same category of games for me as WarioWare Inc.
Weird.
It's a non-game that is the best video game. Like, it doesn't follow the standard like video game rules, and it's just different, and it's different in the best way possible.
You want a nothing
Leighton is in the
burger
same
opinion.
category.
I think you just wanted to connect to the last game we talked about in this room together and the most recent game we talked about.
That's
in this
not
room
the game I'm
together.
talking about. I'm talking about WarioWare Inc. for the GBA, not that game.
WarioWare Inc. party games?
Not party games. Minus the party games. Garlo has my back on that opinion. I promise you.
Rep Flame said, honestly, my opinion on this game is kind of a hot take, but let me be honest, the gameplay gets repetitive to me, and it feels all the same, as in the same thing, different faces with each case. It remedies this a bit in later games, but it's still there for me, and gameplay is a huge part of every game. I'm not one for writing multiple huge paragraphs describing ups and downs in games, so I'll keep it at that. 100% new game plus, but by no means a perfect game or even a favorite of mine, and there's many games I'd rather play over this. However, given the time and the focus, it is well worth a look. And that's where you should have landed.
Did you write that one, Kenny?
I'll give it to them, but like they could have landed on the other side of that decision, and I'd have been okay with it too. Clearly,
the repetition I see, because even in the one you were watching me, like there's a point when I presented, I had to present something twice, even though I was like, didn't y'all see that the first time? Like you should have, anyways.
But not only that, the gameplay is mash A.
It is,
in a
large portion.
It is.
I know, if it's a good story,
and it's 10 pictures that just get mixed up and shown again and again. But they use those two things.
Done talking.
Yeah.
To tell a story.
Finally, I did want to read Clint's.
Finally.
He said this Patreon pool was a Christmas gift to my wife, as was the game itself. Having grown up mostly a non-gamer, I presented her with a wide breadth of options to help find a niche or niche.
Nietzsche.
Things like Stardew Valley, Zelda, Mario, Pokemon, and yes, Phoenix Wright. She bounced off of many different games, got tired of hunting for moons in Mario Odyssey, bored to tears in Pokemon, and didn't find much entertainment in platformers. The two things that stuck, turn-based RPGs such as Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy, and Zelda, both heavily story-centric games.
Yep.
I presented her with Phoenix Wright, and she became entranced in the games and the games community, diving into the many fan stories and theories.
Oh, no.
And of course, jumping on the Phoenix Miles romance ship, which, by the way, no, I felt it. If you have to keep playing, because there's like some
I'm so
tension
excited.
there.
That's so awesome.
There's some tension there between the two.
There's tension.
Ace Attorney has practically become a part of her personality, and I couldn't be happier because it's some of Capcom's greatest work. The game itself, I feel, needs no selling points from me. It's so unique and charming, I can't call it anything other than a must-play.
I feel like Kenny reads April May fanfic. No, he definitely does.
No, but I will say there were some in our community this week that, like you, it did bounce off of. So you're not alone.
Good.
But you are wrong.
I got outvoted.
I mean,
least.
you know you're wrong. That's okay.
For now, we are setting aside Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, and we are randomizing the game for our next 7 days, the game that we're playing for the next 7 days. But we're not randomizing. So I lied. Objection.
You lied?
Yeah.
Objection.
You just perjured
You need
yourself.
to retell your testimony.
Because we are starting this year with a Patreon pool, what we just did, and we are then moving into a director's episode.
Pool.
A director's episode pool.
So next week, Brunt will be joining us for the very first time.
So fun.
And we're going to be playing the game that he selected for us to play.
And you
Can't
know
wait.
it and we don't.
And that game is... a game that I know and you don't.
Yeah, I hate that.
And I've known this for a few weeks, and I'm super excited to share it with
You've
both
kept
of you.
it a secret.
Did you cheat and play early?
I have not.
Okay.
Because I still have to finish Ace Attorney.
All right.
The game, this is going to be fun. The game first came out in 2007. So this is
fairly recent. Yeah.
This is new.
Only barely able to be added to the Retromaster list.
Yeah.
For the Xbox 360.
Wow.
Is that a first? We've had Xbox.
No, I don't know if it is. I think we've had at least one thing on
Halo.
that generation.
We've played Halo 1?
Consoles.
Action RPG. And the first in a series.
Action RPG.
That could be...
Nolan, it takes place
So
in the
many.
Milky Way galaxy in the year 2183.
Well, sure. Everything takes place in the Milky Way
The
galaxy.
game that we are going to be playing for the next 7 days is called Mass Effect.
You know what? This will be the third playthrough I've done of it and not beat.
Nolan!
First
Did
time...
you lose your save?
First
He
time
already
save
knows.
got corrupted
Yeah.
and lost on PC. Second time PoE League came out and I quit. Wait, no. I beat it. I'm thinking of the second one. My bad.
Which is even better, some would say.
I know. I'm so excited.
And Kenny, you have not played Mass Effect.
I haven't. I know about it by reputation, but I haven't. So I'm going to get to go into it blind.
In many ways, this is KOTOR, but perfected.
One of the things that's extra fun... Yeah, oh, no, he's right. And
I'm
I
right.
think Minnie would agree.
I'm right.
Yes.
That's
Kenny,
a really... Like,
no, I'm
I
telling you.
already had a high opinion of
Kenny,
it, and
this
then
is-
describing it that way, I just,
Kenny,
doubled my
Kenny,
expectations.
it is legendary. It is so good. And you have the first play. So we get to experience your very true first reactions to this game.
You're going to like it, Kenny.
Oh.
Like, seriously. It's
Well, he didn't
great.
like Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, so...
It's a very different game.
Find a copy of Mass Effect and play it along with us this week.
You can also join us in Discord. We have a thriving community. That's where we read commentary, and we want to know your thoughts on Mass Effect. So if you played it, let us know by going to discord.gg/newgameplus.
Even if you liked Ace Attorney, which is probably most of you, we still like you. In fact, we have the best community. Not only people that engage, that play along with us, that write us in things, don't do this. Everyone that's listening on audio is so confused as to why I get flustered. But to those of you who support us as well on patreon.com, and help vote with your wallets. We've got an amazing large list of producers, including Adam, Alex, Marlian, Antonin, Ben, Brunt, DH Bowser, Ellis, Francesca, Gimbin, J. Robert, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Clint, Nick Nat, Corey, Laue, Mal, Maxima, Mr. Latte, Sage and Shauna, Subsonic Demon, Tazelhoft, Thomas, Unbedavable, William, and Zion. We have some new patrons this week that are joining us in support for the very first time. So thank you for Wardonis. Welcome back. Pedro, LPC Daniel, Super Garbage Day, and Mark.
Super Garbage Day.
I love the variety of
Mark.
I love the variety of names people
We
use
love
online.
Mark.
It's like everything from handles to names.
Is that my
and
dad?
Everything in between. It's funny. We have a new producer this week as well, Papari.
Welcome, Papari.
Welcome.
So thank you.
That's hype.
And of course, to our directors, you started the year, you end the year. You are the meat in our something burger sandwich. So Bro Jim, Daniel, Garlisle, George, Shane, Super Hypered, The Tasty Yogurt. Thank you guys so much for your support.
Thanks.
And we hope you especially have a wonderful start to your new year. All of you, but them especially.
You can find us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. Make sure you listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Subscribe so that you're the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week with Brunt as we play Mass Effect. That's a huge one.
I know.
Until then, I'm still April, May. I'm still April, May.
I'm guilty as charged.
I'm June, July. That's a good name.
That is a good name.
And this has been New Game Plus.